You're listening to War. We are America Radio, a place where conservatives, libertarians, and Tea Party Americans come together to get the real deal news. No filter and a lot of patriotic spirit. We are America Radio.
You are listening live to the Vito and Vito Show. Disrespectful to the executive branch.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Don't sign the damn deal, and the president won't.
Therefore, I do not believe that the majority can vote a man's life or property or freedom away from him.
And we're live here on the Vito and Vito Show. I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito.
We want to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vito and Vito Show out of Brooklyn, New York. Two college-age millennial conservatives bringing you nothing but the truth right here, the Vito and Vito Show. Vito, explain to the people just what we stand for.
We bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservative libertarians out of liberal hellhole Brooklyn, New York. We're committed to defending the principles of freedom, free markets, liberty, and individualism. Vito, we hold no punches here on the show.
That's right, no punches here on the Vito and Vito Show. Vito, being that we're college students...
Or just overgrown buffoons.
Well, that's true. We are going to have a lot of fun here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're not your average conservative talk radio show. We're a lot more fun than that. Vito, we're going to have some very interesting jokes lined up for you tonight. For all the good fans. What'd you say?
Like sex jokes?
Oh, okay. Yes, we do, actually. We have lots of dirty sex jokes going around here in the room. The Vito and Vito Show, giving you nothing but dirty sex jokes. Listen, Vito, this is a show that if you're an Ayn Rand lover, if you love libertarianism, if you're a conservative, you're a Tea Party guy, this is the place, or gal, this is the place where you want to be, because we're bringing you exactly what you want to hear, and that is the truth. We're bringing you the facts. We've got a great show lined up here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. For example, we also, we have a special guest coming on, a part of the new Vito and Vito Show Millennial Moments.
Ellie Mae.
That's right. Conservative blogger and vlogger.
Vlogger, video blog. Yep, she has a YouTube channel.
Vlogger, I mean, she does it all. She does it all.
Right. Don't rhyme the words now, Vito. Video blogger, you can check out our YouTube channel. Links on our website, www.vitoandvito.com. She has all those hits on YouTube. You can go see her beautiful face talking about conservative values.
Yeah, she's a superstar, so we're going to have her on later on this evening. But we're also going to talk about the stock market crash that happened just earlier in this week. Vito lost all his money. He's walking around naked.
Oh, this is the worst since 1929.
I never seen a guy work the corner so hard in his life before. I mean, he's really trying to make it back.
I lost everything.
He's lost it all. Listen, it is bad. It was horrible. The Dow lost over 1,000 points this week, and even though it's inching itself back up, I think it's a very good indicator of the economy, and it shows you just how bad this, quote, recovery really is. I mean, this is a scary, scary thing that we see going on.
I thought the recovery was going great. I thought we're out of this recession and everything. I mean, you had to see the stock market is doing great before Monday.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. On Friday it tanked too, and the media is going about blaming China. The media is going about blaming Greece. The media is blaming everyone but the Federal Reserve, and if you're listening to this show, you know that it's the Fed that is definitely inflating prices in this country. It is driving about a terrible, terrible stock market. It's driving it right into the ground, and we here on the show are going to expose the truth for you. We also have later on in this program, Vito, it's going to be a lot of fun. A very, very interesting story about a very interesting governor who happens to be running for president of the United States, Governor Scott Walker. Vito, what'd you find out about this?
Is he or is he not defunding Planned Parenthood?
It's going to be a great topic later on in the program. But let's start with our first topic here tonight on the Vito and Vito Show, which you can give us a follow, by the way, at Vito and Vito Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you really like us, go to our website, www.vitoandvito.com, for network listings. The Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
Vito, let's break it down. The stock market crashing on Monday as a result.
That's right.
As a result of a Federal Reserve run amok. The Federal Reserve, a couple of weeks ago, actually months ago, this has been going on, this is just waiting to crash. A couple of months ago, the Fed has been talking about how they wanted to raise interest rates up in September. September finally rolls around, almost about to roll around. The Fed, again, asked that same question, will you increase interest rates? Because we all know interest rates in this country have been at historic lows. Like less than 1%. If you have a savings account in this country, it is losing money. And it's a result of the government.
That's why I keep all my money under my mattress.
Yeah, okay. So Vito sleeps on Benjamins.
My pennies.
Is that what you have as a pillow? You have like a bunch of quarters by your head?
It's under the mattress, Vito, because I want to get my sore neck when I sleep with all my dime bags.
You gotta be kidding. Your dime bags.
Rolls of quarters.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
I'm broke.
You're broke. You're broke. You sleep on
I've been hoarding gold though. I don't use money.
You should hoard gold.
I have gold.
Is the only thing that really has strong value here.
It's gold.
It's gold. It's gold member. But we see the Federal Reserve being asked that same question again. Are you going to raise interest rates in September? And Janet Yellen, head of the Fed, saying, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Which means September is coming up. She might raise some interest rates on the Fed. We're getting nervous. People are freaking out. Sure enough, the stock market takes a big dive. And I find it baffling that no one is willing to connect the Federal Reserve and the stock market problems that we see in this country today. Well, around the world, for that matter.
Yeah, you know why?
But people are so quick to, judge China and other things.
Yeah, because the media is talking about China.
Yeah, exactly. The media is pinning this on China because they don't want to face the facts that the Federal Reserve is the problem here. They don't want to look at the facts that when you have such low interest rates in this country, when any country engages in the printing press, when it engages in artificially lowering interest rates to, quote, stimulate the economy, all you're doing is manipulating everything else that has to do with economic trade and activity in this country. And I find it to be bizarre. No one on CNBC is talking about this. Peter Schiff is, but Peter Schiff is an example. No one on Fox Business is talking about this as much. I don't see anybody talking about this particular issue and linking the Federal Reserve and their monumental printing of the money and the fact that they're able to just sneeze, the whole world catches a cold type attitude. And everybody else is sort of eating the bucket here. I mean, if you take a look at savings in the past 5 years, you're getting hammered. You're losing money. And every time the Federal Reserve or the government engages in some type of activity that isn't a handout to special corporations or doesn't give you thousands of dollars of useless money, you see a rocky, unstable marketplace. It's anti-capitalism, Vito, and that's what we got to worry about here, is because if you're fighting against crony capitalism, this is where you got to start.
Well, it's unconstitutional.
Well, that's a great point that a lot of people bring up. It's the fact of the constitutionality of the Federal Reserve. Just how constitutional is it to have this private, quasi-public, quasi-private entity print money? Where in the Constitution, trivia for you, ladies and gentlemen, where in the Constitution does it say that this private entity can manage the nation's money supply?
Nowhere.
Exactly. Who has the power to coin and regulate money?
Congress.
Exactly. Article 1 of the Constitution lays it out right there. So if you want to make a constitutional point, great point made right there for the ending of the Federal Reserve. If you want to make a practical standpoint, just take a look. Every time the Fed says they're willing to talk about an increase in interest rates so that people don't die by living in their homes because they're not making any money, savings, and I mean, the ones hurt the most here are those on fixed incomes.
And that just shows how volatile the Federal Reserve is, that they can just talk about raising interest rates in September and everything just goes hotwire.
It's dangerous, and it's ultimately very much anti-voluntarism. It's anti-free trade. It's anti a lot of things.
Anti-capital, anti-laissez-faire.
Exactly.
Well, how is that a free market if you're going to have this directly manipulating the money supply and the interest rates and everything?
Well, it's not, and a lot of people blame the free market and say, well, look at how unstable this is. I remember getting into an argument the other day with a liberal over this, and they said, well, take a look at the stock market. Just look how bad it is. Look at all the money the Dow lost. Over 1,000 points. My God, this is the end of America as we know it. And I said, yeah, but you're blaming the wrong institution. It's not capitalism that's doing this. It's not capitalism that is driving this issue. The issue is being driven by a manipulative central bank that is printing money at its whim. And it's so baffling to watch nobody talk about the Fed. But everybody is quick to talk about China. And trust me, China is not a very stable country. But you are not losing over 1,000 points in the marketplace because of China alone. The same thing with Greece. Listen, they got a lot of problems. I'm not saying they don't. But take a look at who's really pushing this here. It's an economics issue, and the issue has to be driven by the fact that the Federal Reserve is manipulating this country's money supply, and just look at the damage it has done when it just winks that it might do something. It winks that it's going to raise interest rates. You just see the destruction that it causes all around this. But Vito, what I want to talk about is the fact that the media, I want to go back on this point because it really is an important one. And we see guys like Ron Paul. I don't know if you've seen this, Vito. Have you seen these videos of Ron Paul, these commercials?
Yes.
Him running around on TV saying how the impending doom is coming, and, it's like, we're in a lot of trouble. And can you sit there and really call Ron Paul crazy? Can you say he's right or wrong?
The media paints him as crazy.
Well, but is he crazy, or, what's the story with him?
No, I mean, if you look into what he's saying, he makes great points.
He does make great points, and I think that has to be said, because when Ron Paul's going around talking about how this has a lot more to do with other things.
And the point that our dollar is backed by nothing?
Right. That no one is really willing here to actually call out the currency issue. No one is here to talk about the issue of manipulation at the government level in terms of special interests instead of, giving special favors and stuff like that, like the real cronies in the economy. Instead, what we're looking at and what we're seeing is that CNBC and Fox Business are talking about China. Vito, explain this to me for a second. I want you to talk to me here for a second. Why is it that the media doesn't want to go ahead and expose the Federal Reserve for what they're doing? It's cronyism. You mean to tell me that a lot of these big corporations that go on CNBC and go on Fox Business aren't sitting there right now worrying about their image? What do you think they're thinking when they walk into a room to do an interview? They're thinking of one thing. They're thinking of how they're going to basically lie to you and tell you that we're trying to give across the best product possible in our marketplace. However, a strong independent company. Vito, the crazy part here, and the part that's baffling to me and to millions of others out there, is that nobody is able to see this. And everybody's focus is on how we could sit around and try to not call a spade a spade. That guy Ron Paul is making some great points about the Fed. And you know what? It's about time we start to talk about these things. Because he's not. Or at least, a lot of people aren't.
No, very small minority.
On the mainstream level, exactly. It's a very small minority on sort of the, quote, outskirts. But if you think about it, if you take a look at the economic issues and arguments they bring up, they're not exactly crazy arguments. So I don't want to sit here and argue with people when they tell me that it's a free market that is doing this, when people tell me that it's capitalism that's ruining the economy. It's not. Before we go any further, this is an issue that has to be dealt with. Has to be dealt with. And we have to finally start taking a look at this issue head on, and we have to really start talking about it.
But then you get the guys, the minority, like Rand Paul, who wants to audit the Fed.
Yeah, I mean, he makes a great point, by the way, in auditing the Fed.
And then you have the crony capitalists, the establishment, the Democrats, and the rest of Congress. How hard this is to pass.
You know what's baffling me? You remember Occupy Wall Street? I mean, we went down there.
That was fun.
Not to protest. But we went down
just
there.
the people watch.
Yeah.
Because this is a hobby in New York City.
But we went down there, and we were checking out Occupy Wall Street, and we were talking to people. I mean, I grew a beard. Like, it was great.
That's when first started the beard.
Yeah, I first started the whole beard thing. I didn't take a shower in weeks. It was fantastic. But I wanted to see how these people lived. I wanted to see what was going down in Zuccotti Park. I wanted to hear the ideas they were talking about. And for the most part, Vito, people were so concerned in this Occupy Wall Street moment with nationalizing the Fed. With not just nationalizing the Fed, but nationalizing all of the banks in the country. And saying how this is the only way we're going to strengthen and save a system is by giving all this power to government. Remember these Occupy Wall Street arguments we got into? There were barely any capitalists there. Most of which were nothing but communists. Really, honestly, at the end of the day.
Socialism fixes everything.
Yeah, well, this is what they said and this is what they thought. And I just want people to see that even the little bit of crony capitalism that is here in our system today is so destructive to millions and millions of people. Can you just imagine what would happen on a grand scale? If these people, if the radical Democrats and the establishment Republicans get their way, just think of what can happen to this country's economy.
You mean the communists and the Democrat lights?